Welcome to NTD Evening News. I'm Chris Beers. Here are today's top stories. President Trump not rushing into a deal with Iran. He says a naval blockade remains in place until a deal is made. A shooting at a White House security checkpoint on Saturday leads to a brief lockdown in Washington, D.C., where Secret Service agents fatally shoot the suspect. Updates on what's unfolding. Special screenings for Ebola at the Atlanta International Airport, the CDC's latest moves to prevent the deadly virus from entering the U.S. China's worst mine disaster in more than a decade. At least 82 miners killed in a coal mine explosion. Potential safety lapses under investigation. Rubio's first official visit to a major U.S. strategic partner. Secretary of State Marco Rubio holding bilateral talks with his Indian counterparts. This Memorial Day weekend, War Secretary Pete Hegseth and Veterans Affairs Secretary Collins, together with their families, join others to clean the walls of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
The prospect of a deal with Iran remains uncertain. President Trump saying if he makes a deal, it will be a good and proper one. The president took to Truth Social today to criticize former President Obama's Iran nuclear deal. He says that deal gave the Iranian regime a direct path to developing a nuclear weapon. Trump saying the deal he's negotiating will be the opposite and, quote, but nobody has seen it or knows what it is. It isn't even fully negotiated yet, unquote. The latest comments come after he said earlier today that negotiations are proceeding in an orderly and constructive manner. The president telling his representatives not to rush into a deal, that time is on the U.S. side, adding that the U.S. Navy's blockade of Iranian ports will remain in full force until an agreement is signed. The president commenting, quote, both sides must take their time and get it right. There can be no mistakes. Special health measures for the Ebola outbreak. The CDC is adding screening for the disease at Atlanta International Airport, the world's busiest airport by passenger traffic. The screening is for people returning from 3 African nations impacted by the deadly outbreak: the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, and South Sudan. The action builds on screenings already underway at Washington Dulles International Airport this past week. The CDC says the public health screening works alongside other precautionary measures, including overseas exit screening, airline illness reporting, and post-arrival public health monitoring. Foreign nationals who have been in any of the 3 African nations in the past 21 days are still barred from entering the U.S. The CDC reassuring the public that the risk of the disease coming into the U.S. remains low. Marco Rubio in India to deepen the 2 countries' cooperation on trade, energy, defense, and technology. The Secretary of State meeting India's Prime Minister and other high-level officials. The trip also signals Washington's interest in keeping India closely engaged on Indo-Pacific strategy and regional security. Here's more.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio held bilateral talks with his Indian counterpart today. The 2 sides discussed the Middle East, visas, and maritime security. This is Rubio's first official visit to the major U.S. strategic partner.
A strategic partnership is when your interests as 2 nations are aligned and you work together strategically to solve those problems. And the list of issues that we work together with India on, the breadth and scope of them, is what highlights the fact that India is an important strategic partner of the United States, one of our most important strategic partners in the world. It begins with the fact of our shared values. We are the 2 largest democracies in the world.
Rubio discussed trade and energy with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday. Rubio also extended an invitation on behalf of President Trump for Modi to visit the White House in the near future. Rubio described India as an important strategic partner and said the 2 countries were aligned on terrorism and energy. He also said India was among the countries with global influence.
There are only a handful of countries in the world that have both the economic and diplomatic power to be influential on strategic issues from a global perspective. and India is one of them, which is what adds the finishing touches on the importance of the strategic alliance. Is we have a strategic alliance between the United States and India. It's a strategic alliance between two countries that have global influence and the ability to influence global events. And that distinguishes it from other relationships. And so that's why this is an important visit to be here today.
India's relationship with the U.S. has deepened over the past 2 decades. The two countries have expanded cooperation across defense, technology, and trade. Successive U.S. administrations, including under President Trump's first term, have sought to draw India closer as a counterweight to rising Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. is now India's largest single trading partner. On Iran, Rubio said progress had been made in the past 48 hours on an outline that could help resolve the situation around the Strait of Hormuz, and added there was a possibility of good news in the next few hours.
A deadly shooting outside the White House complex is raising questions about security in the nation's capital. Authorities say a 21-year-old man opened fire on Secret Service officers yesterday evening. The shooting triggered a major lockdown and response from multiple federal agencies. The suspect was shot by officers and later died. Here are the details.
Shots rang out at around 6 p.m. near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, just outside White House grounds. According to the Secret Service, 21-year-old Nasir Best pulled a weapon from a bag and began firing at officers stationed near the Eisenhower Executive Office building. Officers returned fire, hitting Best. He was taken to a hospital, where later he died. Law enforcement told CBS News roughly 15 to 30 shots may have been fired. Reporters near the White House described hearing rapid gunfire before Secret Service agents rushed everyone inside during a lockdown that lasted nearly an hour. Authorities say no Secret Service personnel, White House staff, or bystanders were seriously hurt. And President Trump, who's spending the holiday weekend at the White House, was not affected. Investigators are now looking into Best's history with the White House complex. Court records show he was arrested last July after entering a restricted area and ignoring orders to stop. Officials say he had previously approached security checkpoints asking how to gain access to the White House grounds. The shooting drawing a large response from the FBI, DC Police, and National Guard and Secret Service. FBI Director Kash Patel said federal agents were also assisting on scene. Afterward, President Trump thanked law enforcement on Truth Social. The president added that the incident highlighted the need for stronger White House security measures.
Joining me now to discuss the deadly shooting outside the White House is retired police lieutenant and founder of the Wounded Blue, Randy Sutton. Thank you so much for being here, Randy. As a former officer with 34 years in the field, what's your reaction to Saturday's shooting outside the White House?
Well, it highlighted the effectiveness of the security arrangements around the White House. You know, clearly the security around the White House in Washington, D.C. has been stepped up dramatically over the last year. We've seen National Guard troops being deployed. We have a beefed up security in the area around the White House. And this revealed that the security protocols were effective and worked. You know, this individual engaged Secret Service personnel. He had attacked with a firearm, and he was neutralized within seconds. That is exactly what you are looking for when you're facing a situation like this, where a critical incident takes place. Law enforcement was effective. They returned fire effectively, and they neutralized the suspect.
So you're not concerned with how far he got? This happened exactly as it was supposed to.
No, I'm not concerned with that at all. You know, they have checkpoints all over Washington, D.C., in close proximity to many of the Capitol buildings. And besides Secret Service, you have a huge contingent of Capitol Police. You have Washington Metro PD. You have a major law enforcement presence in and around the Capitol. And you know, we don't want an armed camp. We don't want to have, you know, people scared of seeing uniformed armed officers. But on the other hand, we have seen an uptick in violence, and they have to be effective.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we don't want the people feeling like we're in a police state or, you know, a place like Cuba. Now, this shooter was known to law enforcement and was arrested last summer for entering a restricted White House area. Could this event have been prevented?
That's a great question. So you look at the record of this individual. He had criminal history. He had a criminal history of violent crime, but he also showed a propensity for trying to get into the White House. So, excuse me. So, was he on a watch list? Yes, you can guarantee he was. But there was also a warrant for his arrest, and that warrant was for failure to appear. And unfortunately, what we have seen is an ineffectiveness of the criminal justice system in Washington, D.C. We have seen a lack of consequences for criminal activity. You have seen the wildings that have been taking place, the takeovers of areas of Washington D.C. by juveniles and young adults who are not fearful of law enforcement. They're not fearful of the consequences. Why is that? Well, because there's been a breakdown in the criminal justice system in Washington D.C. because of the liberal left who are in control of the city council in Washington. And they refuse to give law enforcement the ability to be effective. They are doing everything they can to put roadblocks in the way of law enforcement's effectiveness.
Now, Randy, we're still not clear 100%. Law enforcement hasn't clarified the intentions behind this shooter, but describe what's happening right now behind the scenes during this investigation to get clear about those intentions.
Sure thing. So this individual had a criminal history. They knew him. They definitely had a file on him from his previous encounters. So he's not an unknown individual. Now, when you have an attack like this, the first thing that law enforcement is looking at, the FBI especially, because they would have the responsibility of the investigation, is there a bigger bigger threat at play here? Is this individual part of a cell? Was he in conspiracy with others to commit this act? I think from everything that we have heard and seen from about this individual is they're looking at this as a mentally ill criminal who has demonstrated violent propensities in the past, and that he was a lone wolf, if you will. It may actually be a more that description may be a little too generous for him. He's a mentally ill individual who somehow found a gun. And this demonstrates that you can create all the laws, the anti-gun laws that you want. This individual was not allowed to have a firearm, and yet somehow he did it. Did he buy it legally? No. And so this demonstrates that you can create laws, and many of the individuals on the left love to create more and more gun laws. They want to ban guns, ban certain firearms, but that isn't effective. In order to be effective, you have to put people in prison for their crimes. That's what works, and somehow that seems to be not even discussed when it comes down to the criminal justice system in many, many places, including Washington, D.C.
Randy, I want to turn to the president and the attacks on his life. Obviously, he was in the White House when this incident happened. There have been multiple shooters targeting him, shot in the ear, of course, before Election Day in 24. Talk about the threat level he faces at this time.
I don't think there's been a president that has faced more threat than this president in history. Maybe Abraham Lincoln, but I don't think anybody else has ever faced the kind of threat that President Trump has. And the unfortunate reality is that much of this, I think, have been prevented if we didn't have some of the absolutely unhinged, violent rhetoric when it comes down to this president. I mean, the reality is that Trump derangement syndrome is real. we have seen people that you would think have a modicum of intelligence that would appear because they're successful in their lives, that they are somewhat intelligent and have common sense. And yet, when it comes down to their feelings for this president, it is absolutely unhinged. And the violent rhetoric that we have heard from many of the political leadership on the left is unconscionable. They are ginning up the hate. And when you have mentally ill people like this individual who is pliable because of their mental illness, they absorb this hatred, they absorb this rhetoric, and can somehow justify to themselves violent behavior. And I really think that one thing that America is lacking these days is a belief in the social contract. You have rights as a citizen, but you also have responsibilities. And calling for the violent death of a president of the United States, that's way out of line, and yet we're seeing it more and more, and accepted. And that's the part that really sickens me.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're talking about an increased need for civics education. So we know there's heightened security around President Trump, given recent events. What do you think the solution to these shootings should be?
Well, I wish I could tell you that there is a solution, but these threats are going to continue. This president is the least safe president in recent history. His family is at risk. He is at risk. And even when he's out of office, he will be at risk. I have a great deal of respect for President Trump. I admire him. I admire his courage to place himself literally in the crosshairs, as he has done over and over again. I think it shows his love of this country and his patriotism.
All right, retired Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you.
Now to China and the country's worst mine disaster in more than 16 years. At least 82 people killed in a gas explosion at a coal mine in China's Shanxi province. Chinese authorities say some 120 more people were injured and 2 are missing. The blast happened on Friday evening. About 247 workers were underground at that time. Rescue operations are underway, and the cause of the explosion remains under investigation. The coal mine operator is also under a probe for potential safety lapses. Chinese state media says blueprints provided by the mine didn't match the actual layout, hampering rescue efforts. And half of the miners at the time of the explosion were not registered. A person in charge of the mining company was taken into custody. China's National Mine Safety Administration in 2024 placed the mine on a national list of disaster-prone coal mines for having high gas content. Shanxi is China's coal mining heartland. It is home to hundreds of thousands of miners and produces almost a third of China's total coal output. Our thoughts, of course, are with the victims. When we come back, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth speaking to new graduates at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point on Saturday, encouraging 1,000 cadets to seek God in every circumstance. And our reporter Sean Marshall takes a look at how one nonprofit is helping veterans transition to civilian life and become successful entrepreneurs, continuing their drive to live a life of service. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
For nearly a decade at NTD, I've specialized in China news. And the more I've reported on it, the more I've realized so many stories that seem far away are actually affecting our lives right here at home. From the COVID-19 outbreak and the regime's cover-up to bigger national security threats, these issues aren't distant. They impact our economy, our security, and our future. America needs a show right now that doesn't just chase headlines, but helps you truly understand what's happening and why it matters to you. Every night at 8, we'll connect the dots. We'll break down national security issues in a clear, digestible way, and we'll keep a sharp eye on the biggest threats abroad, especially China, and how they affect us here at home. With so much information everywhere, access isn't the problem anymore. Understanding is. We'll cover the biggest stories of the day, but we'll do it in a way that's smart, respectful, and actually enjoyable. Because news doesn't have to feel like homework. At the end of the day, there's more that unites us than divides us.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options. Only at selectspecs.com.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality. A timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Tired of struggling with that heavy leaf blower? Introducing the Bullseye Power Blower. It delivers a massive blowing force, and yet it's so compact and lightweight. Just lock and load the rechargeable battery for long-lasting runtime. The secret is the compact turbocharged motor with jet burst technology that blasts out 21,000 RPMs of airflow. Watch this. The sheer force propels this woman across the pool. Look, use Bullseye to blow up a huge jump house. Now that's power. Even blows snow right off your vehicle in no time. Turbo clean your porch in a flash or tidy up your dirty garage floor in seconds. Get it today for just $99.99. But wait, act now and get a $20 discount. So it's only $79.99. Plus, you'll get the adjustable extension tube. Yours free. And it all comes with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-209-2313 or go to bullseyeblower.com. That's 1-800-209-2313 or order online at bullseyeblower.com. Order now.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Ooh.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. This Memorial Day weekend, we're covering the 1,000 or so cadets, now officially U.S. Army officers, graduating from West Point on Saturday, ready to step into military service during a period of rising global tensions. War Secretary Pete Hegseth calling them the best that America has to offer. Here's more.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth delivered a graduation speech at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point on Saturday. At Michie Stadium in New York, some 1,000 cadets threw their caps in the air as the Military Academy of 2026 marked the end of 4 years and the beginning of their military careers. Hegseth framed the moment as historically significant, saying the graduates are entering military service at a time when global stakes are extremely high. He reminded the cadets that when they entered West Point 4 years earlier, they knowingly accepted the burden of military leadership and the possibility of combat.
You've proven that you have what it takes to lead our nation's top 1%, America's most valued treasure, America's son and daughters, the American soldier. And now today, we are going to send you. We're sending you to lead. We're sending you to forge warriors. And we're sending you, perhaps, to war. And you are ready. The world today is at a crossroads, just as it has been for the past 250 years of our great republic.
A major theme throughout the speech was Hegseth saying the military should be built around meritocracy, readiness, discipline, and lethality.
You will not compromise, you will not seek color, and you will not try to meet arbitrary quotas based on immutable characteristics. You do not have time to celebrate identity months, and you will not make excuses for yourselves, and you will not accept excuses from others. You are fit, not fat. You are disciplined, not distracted. Many of you, even in your short time in uniform, have endured what I call the slow slide of the U.S. Army. You've seen standards lowered. You've seen an obsession with race and gender. You've seen the watering down of discipline, codes weakened, and traditions tossed aside in the name of political correctness.
The War Secretary also highlighted what he described as improving Army recruiting numbers. He said the Army has been consistently meeting recruiting goals and even reached this year's target early. He added that the Army is expected to expand next year, meaning graduating cadets will soon be responsible for training and preparing many new recruits. The U.S. Military Academy says on Saturday a total of 1,002 cadets graduated and were commissioned as second lieutenants.
And on Saturday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, honoring the fallen soldiers by helping clean the memorial wall to preserve the legacy of their courage and sacrifices.
These men here died for our freedom, and they went and did their duty, and they did it honorably on behalf of all of us. And there are a lot of things that went down in the era of Vietnam that hopefully we never relive. But what the Secretary's doing and what we're doing is trying to ensure that their memory and their legacy lives on. And we're welcoming them home yet again. Maybe welcome them home in every iteration of how we honor them. So we're honored to be here. The Hegseth family is excited to be here in the rain because it's the way it should be, washing this memorial. Thanks for having us, Mr. Secretary. And thank you all for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
The wall was dedicated in 1982 with over 57,000 names of perished U.S. Army Forces personnel. The National Park Service say additional names of more than 300 men and women have been added over the years for those who were reclassified or later died from wounds.
And the memorials around here remind us that the freedoms that we have to come wash this wall today were paid with their blood. They were paid with those who went before. And that's something we should never forget. So our simple act of washing a wall today is our welcome. It's our telling them we still remember. Because what you'll notice at the bottom of that wall as you look right now is there's people who still remember. They come by and they say dad, they say mom, they say brother, they say sister. So for us today, it's just simply an act of saying, welcome home. Thank you for what you've done. And a reminder to those in the future that if you don't step up as well, this freedom we have is not there. That is one thing that Pete and I agree completely on. The strongest country in the world is this country in the world. The greatest country in this world, by God's blessing, is this place right here. Why? Because we honor the fact that he gave it to us, and also the honor the fact that there are men and women who are willing to put that right hand up and say, I'm willing to go.
Ahead of Memorial Day, our next report comes from NTD's Sean Marshall with how one nonprofit is empowering veterans as they transition to civilian life. The PenFed Foundation's current Military Heroes Partnerships program addressing critical needs within the veteran community through wellness, creativity, and connection. PenFed helps veterans navigate the ups and downs of entrepreneurship.
Transitioning from the military to being a veteran entrepreneur can be very challenging. That's where the nonprofit PenFed Foundation is stepping in to help.
So really the three big hurdles for veteran entrepreneurs, they're spending their careers serving our country. And so they don't always have that opportunity to build their network, to get the mentorship they need when starting and scaling a business, and then also accessing capital, figuring out what's available to them and what fits their particular business. So through the incubator, we kind of teach those business basics, and then through the accelerator, we try to introduce them to investors, get their books right, and give them that one-on-one mentorship. Through both of our programs, we always offer our network and expand their network to provide them with the resources and people that they need so that they can get their business to whatever that next step looks like.
Through the PenFed Foundation's network of investors, mentors, and subject matter experts, alumni have raised millions in early capital, built strategic relationships, and received world-class guidance from industry leaders.
So we have a military spouse who has a mission-driven company called Our Riveter, and her mission is to give meaningful employment to military spouses. Many of you know that it is very difficult for military spouses to have meaningful work that travels with them when they move around with their family, military, spouse. And so what she's designed is an upscale luxury handbag company where all of the components of the handbags are made all over the world by military spouses, all shipped into her manufacturing facility, and then they put the bags together so military spouses can find meaningful employment. And there are some pretty sweet looking handbags out there that you can buy. It's called Our Riveter. That's one of our really great success stories and just an incredible military spouse founder.
With more than 20 years of success stories since 2001, the PenFed Foundation has been able to support more than 140,000 service members and veterans thanks to donors, sponsors, and veteran service organizations.
If you are committed to your idea, you have an idea, you have a problem you want to solve, and you're committed to it, I think you just apply. I think that we have the support systems in place to help you with whatever challenges you're facing, and that is literally why we're here. That's all we do.
To sign up, just go to the PenFed website at penfedfoundation.org and click on programs, and you'll be able to see which program applies best to you. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
On Memorial Day, the somber call of taps will honor military veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. Those 24 notes date back to the Civil War. We bring you one man who has dedicated decades to the history and performance of that bugle call and making sure every veteran is honored properly. Here's more.
Yari Villanueva's experience with the bugle call taps started as a scout.
I was the troop bugler, so I would sound taps and reveille and mess call when we were out on camping trips.
During 23 years with the U.S. Air Force Band, he participated in thousands of ceremonies at Arlington National Cemetery and elsewhere. But a single question launched him on a decades-long mission.
The chief who was in charge of the band leaned over to me and said, "Where did the call come from?" And I was dumbfounded because I couldn't give him a good answer.
Villanueva decided to learn everything he could about bugling and taps and share it. Taps originated during the Civil War, he says, when Union General Daniel Butterfield asked his brigade bugler to come up with a less formal call to end the day. Their taps soon spread to other units and became an official bugle call after the war. More than 160 years later, millions have heard it graveside to honor their military veterans for the final time. Buglers, Villanueva says, should strive for perfection every time.
That's going to be the lasting impression that they have for the rest of their lives, that when they were at the cemetery, they heard that bugle sounding those 24 notes.
On a steamy May day at Baltimore National Cemetery, where veterans have been laid to rest since World War II, Villanueva sounded those 24 notes. Villanueva has also spearheaded Taps for Veterans, a nationwide network of auditioned volunteer buglers to connect with families and veterans organizations to honor the fallen on Memorial Day and every day.
Of all the military bugle calls, none is so easily recognized or more apt to evoke emotion than the bugle call of TAPS.
Coming up, a chemical tank in California at risk of leaking or exploding. Now, a new discovery could change the response strategy. And Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos is firing back at critics of billionaires' taxes, saying higher taxes on the wealthy would not solve deeper economic issues in America. More in just a moment here on NTD Evening News.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. Good. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
A toxic chemical tank in Orange County, California is at risk of leaking or exploding. Experts are searching for solutions. Here's the interim fire chief of the Orange County Fire Authority.
So what we initially heard from the plant and the product facility was we had no options. There's nothing we can do. It's either going to completely leak or blow. Us in the fire service, those are never options for us. So what we did, we assembled a very specialized team with subject matter experts from LA City Fire, LA County Fire, San Bernardino County, and Long Beach Fire, and OCFA with OES. We specialized this team, and we came up yesterday with a plan. We briefed out on it. We looked at it. We made sure it was sound. We tested it out, and what we did last night is we did an operation last night. It was a late night operation, very kind of behind the scenes. And what we did is we were able to take our SME, subject matter experts from our hazmat teams, and actually go in and get to the tank. We had drone footage initially, but what occurred was we weren't getting good angles. So after last night, when we had our firefighters in there and get visualizations, we noticed a potential crack towards the top. And what that showed us was that it could not be as high pressure as we thought because of that crack. So we also had trigger points to pull our members out due to safety concerns. We had a reading where one of the triggers went off, so we had to abort the mission. But what we got was significant intel for us to come back and vet and validate that information on that operation we did last night. It was a very high risk, low frequency operation, but we got positive info. What we're doing right now is we are vetting and validating that information, and we're pretty sure that it's going to come back and it's going to change our history and our strategy of how we're going to attack this emergency incident. It lessens the potential. It's a positive impact for us. Now we're more of a low pressure than a high pressure. So that was a positive enhancement. With that crack, we're knowing that the pressure is not there that was initially thought. So that was a positive thing for us. Your first question about getting our firefighters in there. So we did a complete risk assessment. We looked at the drone footage and we saw avenues, opportunities to go after it. We evaluated those. We did our risk assessment, like I said, and we were able to come up with a plan to go in safely based off our SME's experience and what they were seeing to make that assessment.
A crack would help relieve pressure inside that tank. If authorities confirm the discovery, it could alter their response strategy, and officials could possibly scale back the evacuation area. The tank contains roughly 7,000 gallons of methyl methacrylate. If that chemical is released, people could experience breathing problems and irritation to the skin and eyes. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in Orange County, and EPA leader Lee Zeldin says the tank will likely fail. Right now, authorities have evacuated about 50,000 people living near the GKN aerospace facility.
We do not have any leakage right now, and we do not have any vapors coming out. We have constant air monitoring going on right there, and it's all within normal limits. Early on, it was venting like it should, but nothing is coming out of that crack at this time. It's just showing us that the pressure has potentially been relieved, and that's what we're vetting and validating right now. So from the get-go, we were flowing copious amounts of water on there, and the temperature gauge, we weren't able to see it because we couldn't get in there. We had no visualization of the internal temperature. All we could do is look at the external temperature of the tank, and we were monitoring that. But now, since we went in, we were able to get a visualization of the internal temperature. Well, there's still some concerns we got to look at, because is the product now in a solidified state? Has it hardened in there? And how much of it is hardening? But last night when we went in, the gauge maxes out at 100 degrees, and that gauge was completely at 100 degrees. So we don't know if it's 105. We know it was over 100 degrees internally. I do not see that. In fact, I see the opposite. We're going to know more once we can vet and validate. We have a team doing that right now. With that crack, that is decreasing the risk. I think you could potentially see a reduction in the evacuation zones, but we're not going to say that yet. We're still validating it. I do not see an increase.
We will bring you more news on that story as it comes out. Next, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is defending American business leaders and pushing back on calls for higher taxes on the wealthy. In a CNBC interview Wednesday, Bezos said politicians are assigning too much blame to the rich for Americans' economic struggles.
Bezos described the economy as a tale of two economies, saying some Americans are thriving while others struggle to afford rent and groceries. But he argued politicians are using wealthy people as scapegoats instead of solving the problem.
Politicians are using the kind of age-old technique. So there's this tale of two economies, and they're using this age-old technique of, picking a villain and pointing fingers. But the problem is that doesn't solve anything.
Bezos also argued the U.S. already has a highly progressive tax system, and argued that raising taxes on billionaires would not fix deeper economic issues.
We don't have a revenue problem in this country. We already have the most progressive tax system in the world. The top 1% of taxpayers pay 40% of all the tax revenue. The bottom half pay only 3%. We have already, and I think it should be zero.
He also pushed back on criticism over his own taxes, saying he already pays billions to the government.
I pay billions of dollars in taxes. And it's a perfect, again, if people want me to pay more billions, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that that's going to solve the problem. You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens.
Meanwhile, Bezos praised President Trump, calling him more disciplined than during his first term. He said business leaders should focus on supporting the country, adding, quote, "I'm on the side of America."
Now back to China. Over the weekend in the country's southwest, floods triggered by increasing rainfall were ravaging the largest city in the region. Yongchuan District, which is on the outskirts of downtown Chongqing, was among the hardest hit. Landslides were reportedly triggered with roads closed and flooded farmlands throughout the mountain regions. According to China's state-run media, 3 people are dead, with 17 others missing. Evacuations and recoveries were underway. The floods also hit nearby Guizhou province earlier in the week, reportedly wreaking more damage in the region. And, of course, our thoughts at NTD go out to those affected. Uganda has confirmed 3 new cases of Ebola, bringing the total number of infections in the current outbreak there to 5. Authorities there stepping up contact tracing to contain the spread.
The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern and said the risk of a national epidemic in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo is very high. Nearly 750 suspected cases and 177 suspected deaths have been recorded in Congo. The new cases in Uganda include a driver who transported the country's first confirmed patient and a health worker exposed while caring for that patient. Both are receiving treatment and were identified among known contacts, the ministry said in a statement. The third case is a woman from Congo who entered Uganda with mild abdominal symptoms. All identified contacts linked to the confirmed cases are being closely monitored, the ministry said, urging the public to remain vigilant and report suspected symptoms.
Coming up, the Iran conflict is sending oil prices through the roof, but is that actually bad for Americans? Financial expert Christian Briggs breaks down why high oil prices could be fueling a massive economic boom right here at home. Stay tuned.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The walls surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
The Iran conflict isn't just a Middle East story. It's a financial war with consequences for every American's wallet. While drivers wince at the pump, one expert says high oil prices could trigger a $2 million job boom and funnel hundreds of billions into the U.S. economy. On the show, Bay Area innovators Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, explains why the countries hurting most may not be the ones you'd expect.
Think about this for a second, okay? Even the United States is having a resurgence in its energy independence and energy policy, where some people think the United States is getting hurt by having oil at $100 a barrel. It's not. It's actually profiting more than if oil was at 60. We're actually doing better because the oil energy sector is now exporting more oil than any time in history. So for the Middle East and for the dominant countries that produce a decent amount of oil and gas, probably both actually, and then sells that plus chemicals, petrochemicals, and other lubricants or oil-based products, they're crushing it. They're doing fantastic. The jobs that are going to be created in the oil sector here in the United States could be in the 2+ million if oil stays above $90 a barrel, which it could. Even after the Iran-United States conflict is put behind us, it could stay at $90+. There's reasoning behind the estimates that I've seen. I agree with many of the analysts around the world. I said it when it started. I said, if this stays high for long enough, it's going to stay high for many, many years to come. That benefits the United States. We sell oil called light sweet crude. It's the best oil in the world. It's the most quality, cleanest, best for refining. We buy heavy sour crude for substantially less than what we sell our light sweet crude. So if we're selling millions of barrels a day, let's just say for $100 a barrel, and we're paying $70 for the oil that comes back, and we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I like those numbers.
Yeah.
Now, most companies say sell for 100, pay 70. That's a good deal. And that adds more jobs. So we're actually doing good. But the rest of the world, the countries who do not have the oil-rich opportunities for direct drilling or some type of on-land or offline or offshore, they're hurting. And it's gonna hurt their economy significantly.
Now, that all sounds good, except the price we see at the pumps. What do you have to say about that? Is that going to change, or how is that going to?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to come down anytime soon. So I would say this: buckle up, budget up, cut where you got to cut, but don't be surprised if the economy grows substantially the rest of this year. Third and fourth quarter will start picking up if oil stays high. The oil energy sector. It's one of the largest parts of our economy when oil is at this price. We could see 2+ million jobs created in a direct fashion. And then how much extra money is that going to bring? I'll give you some real world numbers. The oil industry, the companies like your Exxons, your Mobils, your Conocos, your Chevrons, Oxy Petroleum, and so forth. These companies were expected to make between 63 billion and probably 70 billion this year on the pre-Iran conflict before it happened. That's not bad. That's good money. A lot of taxes paid. A lot of that cash goes to bonuses in various markets: Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Pennsylvania, California. They all are oil-rich countries or states. Now, here's the best what helps the country. Now we're at $100 oil. So those profits are going to be $150 billion, $200 billion. Now, that much more money is coming into the economy. Think about that for a second. We're selling oil. That's fresh billions of dollars a day, higher bonuses, higher stock options for the people that work in the oil industry, the dry cleaners, the grocery stores, the little mom and pops, the Walmarts, the Targets, the tailors. You think about the restaurants in these communities where these oil companies are heavily domiciled with lots of employees from upper management all the way to people that work on the rig. Small communities where these, a lot of oil-rich companies, they drill in small communities. You're not going to get oil wells in downtown Dallas, but you got management. Downtown Houston, management of big oil companies. Where do they drill? Offshore. West Texas, East Texas, North Texas, South Texas, small towns. are about to get a massive influx of cash because they're all going to be richer, more jobs, more industry, more sales or exporting. Trump had a plan: cut China's oil off, increase energy production, energy independence, and get more people relying on U.S. energy to make up where Venezuela and Iran have fallen off the map.
You can watch more of this interview on NTD Plus or Epoch TV. Moving to World Cup news. Iran will base their squad in the Mexican border city of Tijuana during this year's World Cup games after soccer's world governing body FIFA approved a request to move the training camp from Arizona. Here's more.
According to the head of Iran's soccer federation, Mehdi Taj, the move would help avoid visa-related complications, and that the squad would be able to travel directly to Mexico aboard Iran Air flights. FIFA did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Iran will play their first two Group G matches in Los Angeles against New Zealand and Belgium, before facing Egypt in Seattle. Iran has faced uncertainty for months over travel and security arrangements for the World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Iranian officials said this month that their players and staff had yet to receive U.S. visas less than a month before the start of the tournament. Taj said FIFA had been asked for guarantees over visas, security, and the treatment of the Iranian delegation.
Thank you for watching NTD Evening News. For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. I'm Chris Beers. Have a good night.